Hey there, this is Z-Wink and Z-Wink University. I get asked the question a lot, and that's what this particular video is on, a particular question. I get asked, how do I choose a bug bounty program? How do I choose a bug bounty program? So, first of all, I like to apologize for those of you that are used to watching my videos because I'm in the wrong corner of the screen, but that's so that I don't cover up the bug crowd stuff here on the screen. I wanted to sort of talk through to help you understand how I make that decision. And what you need to understand is that picking a program is a very important decision, especially if you've got 5 or 10 or 15 programs in front of you and you don't know how to pick. There are definitely steps you can take to choose and narrow down maybe the best one for you, but I think it's subjective. I need you to understand that what I'm telling you is what I do to pick a program, not necessarily what will work best for you. So let's look at some criteria that we have to pick a program, okay? And that's the most important thing to understand is the criteria and what it means. I think most of us do this for money. Despite what the surveys tend to say, I think most people, if you took away the money, you would not have so many people out there bug bounty hunting, right? So let's start with the whole idea of compensation and financials and things like that, right? So every program you're on, every platform you're on, should have a payout scope, right? And your P4s are a certain amount, which are the lows, and then your P3s are higher, your P2s are even higher, and your P1s are even higher. Now, this is Starlink, SpaceX. They have a public program, and they pay an astronomical amount of money compared to most. Like many programs, P1s are at $2,500, which is a tenth of what SpaceX pays, but SpaceX is also they have a very good security posture. So if you find a P1 with them, you've probably earned it. So that's one of those targets. We'll get into target difficulty here in a bit. So first thing you need to consider is if you have a bunch of invites in front of you, do I go for the higher paying, possibly more difficult targets? Or do I go for the lower paying, possibly easier targets? And in my experience, there is some correlation there for sure. If the target is willing to pay more for a bug, it is almost always going to be a more difficult target because they've had numerous pen tests and numerous scans, and maybe they've already gone through a private program before making their program public. So now at this point, any low-hanging, or rather very high-hanging fruit that people have not found yet, it's going to be difficult to find an exploit in most cases. I've only found one exception to that, where a target that paid a lot was actually a fairly easy target. So, the amount of money that you're concerned with making is always, something you need to take into account. And it may speak to the difficulty level of the program, though not always. When I'm looking at a program these days, I honestly look at money sort of always in the back of the mind, right? If I've got 10 program invites and half of them only pay up to $1,500, I generally just ignore those now. Because for my time, I would like to make more money while I'm working if possible. That's just me. Then if the target meets my monetary requirements, whatever that may be, right, relative to all the invites I have, the next thing I tend to look at is the scope. Is the scope big, or is it some tiny little thing, right? The scoping can drive you nuts. Like this one says star.spacex.com, star.starlink.com. That's a good scope. That means absolutely any subdomain of those websites, except for whatever they happen to list, are in scope. So you've got a lot of potential targets to work with, and that means any new subdomain they spin up is potentially in scope, a misconfiguration with something new, etc. So things with wide open scopes always tend to get my attention more than things that are like just www.spacex.com, right? And then some will go as far as to have like just www, and then they'll exclude like 15 vulnerability types. So you'll come down here and there'll be, like all the different things that you can't report. Now, these are normal things that most people aren't interested in. Cross-site scripting is pretty much pointless, right? Social engineering is out of scope on just about everything. That kind of stuff's okay. But if you get into a program and it's like CSRF is out of scope, all cross-site scripting is out of scope. Dude, I saw a program the other day where it said literally they were only interested in authentication bypass. That was it. So they had one website and the only thing in scope was auth bypass. And I was like, no, I'm good. And I moved on. So, you have to take into account, if you only like looking for cross-site scripting, CSRF, and maybe, IDORs or something, and they're not in scope for some reason, like, just move on, right? Real hackers in the world don't have their hands tied like that. So ultimately, these programs are not getting the full benefit of crowdsourced security by doing that, and they're losing good hackers on their program because people like me and others, I'm sure, skip right over the top of them sometimes. It just depends. So, you look at the money, and then you look, okay, well, the money pays good. Is there enough stuff to look for, or is it some dinky 3-page website that has almost nothing on it? Because the bigger the scope is, the more likely you are to find something. And additionally, this isn't listed in the bug bounty scope, but I look for the age of a program a lot of the times. I'll go to Wikipedia, or I'll go on the internet, and I'll be like, if I don't know already, I'll go and be like, how old is this program? How long have they been around? And if it's a company that's been around for 10 or 15 or 20 plus years, that's great, because it means they have gone through the development life cycle evolution of code getting old and deprecated, then upgraded, then old and deprecated and upgraded. And what that means is there's a lot of potentially old crap left out on the internet that they've forgotten about, or that isn't as secure as some of the newer stuff. And that leaves a lot of buried treasure to find. And I really love sort of the treasure hunt aspect of bug bounty hunting. So I personally like older programs over newer programs, because I like to hunt the old screw ups and old files that they left around on servers that they didn't delete and remove and things like that. That entertains me. But then again, sometimes you get a brand new shiny invite, right? It's a private invite, and it's like a program that just started today. Those are a race. So for those programs, you're essentially racing against all of the other 20 or 40 or 60 people, however many got the initial invite to that program that just went live. And that's sort of a cutthroat race. Report vulnerabilities as fast as you can, otherwise they're duplicates kind of environment. And sometimes I'm in the mood for that. It's kind of thrilling and entertaining, and sometimes I'm not. But those are fun too. So it depends, of course, if you're looking at private invites versus just regular public programs too. I try to mix it up a little bit. I like some old programs. I like some new programs. Now, I used to only care about this fact right here as the first thing that I looked at. And this speaks to how responsive a program is. And this is all just sort of, it's your opinion. Like if you want to do work and you don't mind getting a response for a month, then feel free to work on programs that say 28-day validation or response time or whatever. Because for me, a lot of times I don't need the money to come in within 2 days. But what it does is it helps me get engaged with the program, and I feel like I'm working for them at that point. So like if I log a bug and then they respond almost immediately with questions, and I answer those questions, and then we do more, and the responses are back and forth in real time almost. It helps you stay engaged, and it helps me stay with the program longer and get interested in it. When they don't respond for a month or 3 months or 6 months or 9 months, or in case of one program, I won't name, I guess, 12 months, it's just ridiculous. And that's a downside to bug bounty hunting, is you have no control over the response time or when they choose to pay you. If you go do work for somebody, right, you expect to get paid within a month. I think that's the standard. You do work, here's your bill, please pay by this time next month. That's pretty standard. Well, in bug bounty hunting, you can go without getting paid for the better part of a year or longer sometimes. It's not the norm, but it can happen. So this is usually a good indicator that the program does not suck, for lack of a better word. So I like lower count validation, and you have to, of course, hope that the platform isn't lying to you with this figure. That's a thing too. So now you're on a program invite, and it's a public program, and you see a number like 33, right? That's a low number, I think, for public programs. And the average payout times 33 vulnerabilities has been $2,300. So the bugs that people are finding with them are, decent bugs, probably P3s or higher on average based on their payout. And so an average P3, middle P3 payout rating for this program, and 33 vulnerabilities. So maybe, you're like, well, maybe they haven't found that much yet. There might be more out there. Or the program could be hardened, and it's hard to find those vulnerabilities. What I would say with the vulnerability count on a program is don't freak out if you get on a program that's public and it's like 360 vulnerabilities rewarded. That would not scare me from working on a program, especially if it's a big company like Tesla or something that's public, what I would say is if they have 360 vulnerabilities rewarded, but the response time is really long, you might run into a lot of duplicate submissions, and that's a problem, right? Because if you've got a program with a lot of vulnerabilities reported but a slow response time, what that can indicate is they don't fix the things very fast. Just by virtue of the response time, you can sort of tell that. And I found that you get more duplicates on programs with longer response times too. Again, something that says 28 or 30 days or longer, you're likely to find more duplicates because they're just not a fast program when it comes to fixing and dealing with security issues. I've had one program where I logged 30 or 40 or 50 bugs. I don't think I've ever actually seen one of them say resolved come across the pipe. And that may be because they're resolving them and not updating the tickets, but then it also may be because they're just not resolving them. So I really don't know. Those are the big indicators, people, of the stuff I look for. It's not rocket science. Oh look, there's my little symbol that's so cute. It's not rocket science, and it's really just what do you like to hunt? If the program marks the bug types you like to hunt out of scope, I would say don't hunt on it, right? If it pays less than you want to make for your time, I would say don't hunt on it. If the scope's too narrowed and it makes you angry because you feel like a random adversary could hack them but you can't, don't work on it. It's up to you. You've got complete freedom in this. I'm just letting you know that that's sort of the way I think is this day and age, because my time is so limited. I've got a lot going on. I look for higher paying programs with open scopes that are older. That's like the perfect set of criteria for me. So high paying, open scopes, doesn't restrict a lot of bug types, and older program is definitely stuff I like to look for. You want to challenge yourself, guys, go after SpaceX. I'm sure they'd appreciate your participation. They've got a very solid, solid security, what's the word I'm looking for, architecture from looking at them. So if you can find stuff with them, consider yourself pretty doggone good at this job, right? And some targets are harder than others, right? How do you know that from looking at a target? Well, there's some things you can do to help you determine at a high level how hard a target might be. Like you can log in and immediately try an IDOR or two, or try a payload with cross-site scripting or SQL injection. And if you get an immediate WAF block, right, or you get an access denied and it logs you out immediately after trying an IDOR or something like that, you know that they've thought of all these things and they have mitigations for them, and you're going to have to work harder. So there's some quick checks you can do, like checking if a WAF's present and checking how they treat broken authentication and things like that, to kind of get a sense of the difficulty of the target. And for me, in my videos, like I said, I like to hunt IDOR because they're so fun and easy to find. But if you go on a program and all of the object identifiers are like GUIDs, some massively long 32 string character or some encrypted token value or something, you're like, well, that's not going to be nearly as fun. So maybe I don't spend as much time on that target because, they don't, my favorite vulnerability types are already mitigated for the most part. So this is just a little insight into my crazy brain, and hopefully it's helpful. Again, this is just the way I do stuff. I get asked all the time, though, how do you pick a program? And they speak to you, stare at it, look at it, feel it, love it, read it. Does it speak to you? Is it like, I really feel that? With SpaceX, I really just wanted to log a bug with them because I think they're a really cool company and have a cool logo, and I like their company. I don't know, there wasn't a lot of I haven't spent a lot of time with SpaceX, honestly, but there wasn't a lot of actual logic behind picking them. I just sort of wanted to play around one night while I was sitting in bed with my laptop, and that was why I messed around with them. But let's go look at, I can't click the programs button because it's going to show private programs. I'm not allowed to show people. So anyway, let me know if you have any other direct questions you'd like me to answer in these interview style videos. Hopefully that was a little bit helpful, but that's my brain in a nutshell. And I will mention one more thing. Sometimes you'll get invites that are like a pool of $10,000, and you have to decide if that's worth your time or not. Because if 40 people got an invite to a $10,000 reward pool, and they start tiering down the amount of money for each bug every time more bugs are reported, it may not end up being worth your time. So you may not like those type of bounty programs. I personally prefer the ongoing programs that pay you for every single bug you find. The ones with the bounty pools, if I have I might spend a couple of hours on it, log as many bugs as I can, maybe like 2 hours. and that's it. Because ultimately you never know if they're going to be duplicates, or if your triage levels are going to get cut in a half or a third or a quarter because too many people log bugs. So just another side note there. All right, everybody, Z-Wing University, bug bounty hunting, you're the best. Subscribe for updates for new videos. I'm going to keep posting stuff until I die. Thanks. See ya.